Hey guys, Telegram Sam here. If you don't already know, I have an Instagram. It's telegram_Sam_vinyl. So if you're on Instagram, check me out on there. But today's video is the Vinyl Tag 2022. I think last year's video was the second video I ever did for the vinyl community. So it's just like a really nice way to like introduce yourself if you're like thinking about starting your own channel. And it's just a fun thing for all of us vinyl community members to do to sort of recap our year of record buying, listening, collecting. So there was actually two channels that released their own vinyl tag list, both Rob Walker and Stunty from Stunt Rock Confusion. I think, yeah, within hours of each other, they uploaded their own vinyl tags. I'm doing Mazzy's combo version of both of their questions. I think he took 10 questions from Rob's and 10 questions from Stinty's and sort of did his own sort of combo version of their list. So that's going to be the one I'm doing. I'll link everyone's videos and channels down below if you want to check them out and do your own. I've watched pretty much everyone's videos in the community so far. They're always so entertaining and so cool to watch. So I'm excited to add my own to that list. Okay, first question. Favorite album purchased in 2021? And this was kind of a no-brainer, but this is The Gilded Palace of Sin by the Flying Burrito Brothers. The Flying Burrito Brothers was always a band I have heard about. I actually kind of knew them from the crazy story behind Graham Parsons' passing and how his body was stolen by his friend and then like burned in Joshua Tree. That's how I first heard of Flying Burrito Brothers. But as I started getting more into music, and you find out like Chris Hillman from the Byrds and obviously the great Graham Parsons. But this was just something I bought earlier this year. They did these fantastic reissues of all the Flying Burrito Brothers albums, and I saw this for really cheap at my record store and just decided to get it. And man, this is just such a killer country rock, folk album. Probably my favorite. It's just when I just don't know what to listen to and I just want something that I know won't disappoint me, I always choose this, and I've listened to this a lot since I've got it, and I just really love it. And now I need to get more of Graham Parsons stuff and the other Flying Burrito Brothers albums, so really loved this. Second question, show the record you spent the most time with in 2021. Again, a no-brainer. I probably listen to this record at least once a month, if not more, just because I always discover something new that I missed the last time I listened to it, and it's the masterpiece of Maggot Brain by Funkadelic. This album is it just transcends genres. There's just so much going on this album, but it's just so tight and perfect. It has jazz, funk, soul, psych, rock. I mean, I could sit down someone who's a fan of hip hop, someone who's a fan of jazz, someone who's a fan of rock or punk, and put this on, and they would all love it. And I feel like that's something that's really hard to do, and there's just will never be another album like this. It's just so amazing. Just one of the greatest albums of all time. Just a perfect album, and one that I just always listen to, and like I will listen to it for a certain part, and then I'm like, oh my god, I completely missed this crazy part in Maggot Brain, or like Can You Get to That, or You and Your Folks, Me and My Folks, Super Stupid, Wars of Armageddon. Like, just, it's perfect. Amazing. Third question, album by the first person you saw live. So this is actually probably like the third or fourth person I saw live. My first couple concerts I went to when I was an early teen, I was going through a bit of an emo scene phase. That was like a really big thing in the early 2010s. My first actual concert ever was Sleeping with Sirens with Falling in Reverse opening. I know probably most of you won't know those bands. Don't really like that music now. Don't really plan on collecting any of those records. But the third or fourth concert I think I went to go see was Motley Crue's farewell tour, or what was their farewell tour. with Alice Cooper opening. And I was probably more excited to see Alice Cooper than I was Motley Crue, so I picked Killer by Alice Cooper, and this is a killer of an album. Just such great hard rock, a little bit of psych kind of thrown in there. Alice Cooper is just such a great shock rock artist. He put on such a great show, and I wish I could see him live again. But this is the gatefold that has the awesome calendar fold out. But yeah, such a great album. Probably one of my favorite Alice Cooper albums. Fourth question. Show a record from a brand new artist / band you got in 2021. This artist has been around for a while. He was sort of like a touring session musician in the 2000s. I think the last 5 or 10 years he's been putting out solo stuff, but I discovered him this year. And it is Thundercat. This is his album. It is what it is. I think this came out last year, or 2019 actually. But yeah, just such a killer jazz, funk, hip hop, a little bit of sort of ambient not new wave, but a lo-fi to it. It's just such a great album, and I've loved everything I've heard from him. I kind of compared him to a modern day Bootsy Collins, and that's really what you're getting with this. You can hear the sort of old school 70s influences, but he's putting a modern twist on it that is so unique to him and his producer that he collaborates a lot, Flying Lotus, who is great in his own right. So such a fantastic album, such a great artist. Anything you pick up by Thundercat is going to be amazing. So I was really excited to learn about him this year. Number 5, album in The Shrink. I personally always take The Shrink off of all my albums, whether they're brand new or if they're secondhand and they still find The Shrink. I just personally don't like the look of it, and plus I put like protective sleeves on all my records anyways, so I knew this was going to be a question, and I got this album last weekend, and I purposely just kept it on for this video, and I will immediately rip it off once I'm done. But this is Teaser by Tommy Bolin. Still has the nice price sticker on it. I'll talk about this album more in my next video, but yeah, literally just kept this on because I knew this was going to be a question, and plus this is a really cool album, and I liked the nice price sticker. But yeah, this will come off as soon as I'm done with this video. Number 6, concept albums. I like have a few basic concept albums, like I have Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon, and I was just looking up like lists of concept albums because there's some albums that people do consider concept albums, but other people don't consider them concept albums. I saw this on there and I think it's kind of a concept album, but this is Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboys by Elton John. This is kind of him doing sort of like country, rock, honky tonk album. Yeah, I guess a concept album. I don't know. This is probably one of my favorite Elton John albums. And this is the album my mom always wants to play when she comes and visits me. So, and she's actually coming next weekend. We might do a video. We don't really know yet. But yeah, she always wants to listen to this album every time she comes and sees me. Number 7, show a record you love but that you haven't given much love to as of late. And I had to pick Led Zeppelin 3. As a big rock fan, Led Zeppelin is just one of those bands you always get into early on once you start like really listening to rock. Like Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd. They're just mainstays, and you know, as I evolved as a music collector and started to get into more like non-familiar bands, more deep cut bands, you kind of forget about the stuff that you started on. And Led Zeppelin 3 is probably my favorite Led Zeppelin record, and it's something I just haven't picked up lately. I'll probably listen to it after I'm done with this video. Yeah, I haven't listened to this one in a while, but such a favorite of the Led Zeppelin discography. Number 8, a live album. I picked this one just because I loved the concept of it, and obviously I love the artist. But this is Bootleg and the Bootleggers by Johnny Thunders. This is such a cool record, and I just love the concept. Johnny Thunders actually explains at the end of this record how he got the idea of doing this, but he was reading a book of just about records and record collecting, and there was a list of like the most bootlegged artists, and he saw himself on the list. So he kind of got this idea that he would get some of these bootlegs of his and then make a comp album of the bootlegs. So he's essentially bootlegging the bootleggers, as the title would suggest. But yeah, this is just such a fun, cool album, and he actually does introductions to each of the songs, like where they were performed. Like, oh, he's like, yeah, I think this was in Paris, or oh, this is in New York, or in 1982, or whatever. So, and I think he did this like less than a year before he died. So this is just a really cool thing. I'm such a huge New York Dolls, Johnny Thunders fan, and just really cool thing to have in your collection. Next up, album from a different continent. I had to go with this one. This is Osmitante's self-titled debut. Great 60s psych rock pop. Very reminiscent of like Mamas and the Papas, but I personally prefer them over Mamas and the Papas. Just so cool. Just one of those great psych albums that you unfortunately don't see a lot just because they're not American, but so worth checking out. This is a great reissue. I believe it's a Russian reissue that just came out a couple years. Originals of these go for crazy money, so I'm glad to have a nicely priced reissue of this. Number 10, show the most out of your comfort zone record you got in the past year. As you know, this year I've been trying to get more into jazz, and this is probably the first jazz record I decided to pick up early on this year. But this is Nucleus by Sonny Rollins. This was actually still in the shrink when I got it. It was sealed. But yeah, I just was like, I know I've heard of Sonny Rollins through watching other people in the vinyl community talk about him, and I just saw this and I was like, why not? It's sealed. It was like $15, and it looked really cool, so I got it. I like it. Not my favorite jazz record, but you can definitely hear sort of that kind of funk influence, like free jazz that was going on during this time. I dig it. Next up is Punk or New Wave album, and I do have a few punk records in the collection, but I decided to do one I don't talk about as much, but I really love. This is Tough Dart's self-titled debut. Great early 70s, or not early 70s, but early New York, late 70s punk. I think they were one of the first bands to ever play at CBGB's. Hard rock, punk, very reminiscent of like New York Dolls sound. Super killers. These are super cheap. I think I got this for like $8. Next up, a jazz album. Probably one of my favorite jazz albums, at least that I have heard so far. But Tender Moments by McCoy Tyner, just a new favorite in my collection, and it's really got me excited about, listening to jazz and discovering jazz, and just such a dynamic, beautiful record. Like, there's, I think, all My Yesterdays on side 2, every time I listen to that song, it always, gets me to tear up a little bit, and I don't know why. It just sort of touches that nerve in you, and I just really enjoy it. Such a beautiful record by a great piano player and composer. He composed all the songs on this record. Just insane, beautiful record. Number 13, soundtrack. Not gonna go with the Quentin Tarantino soundtrack on this one, but soundtrack to one of my all-time favorite movies, The Big Lebowski soundtrack. I have probably seen this movie hundreds, if not thousands of times. This is just a go-to movie for me. It's like a comfort movie. I just love it so much, and this just has such a great soundtrack. You have Nina Simone, Moondog, Elvis Costello, Bob Dylan, Captain Beefheart, Kenny Rogers in the first edition. You have some more lounge, sort of jazzy songs on here. You also have opera, and then some crazy German electronic song. And then the last song is Dead Flowers the Rolling Stones cover that Townes Van Zandt did, and I just love his version of that song. It's so beautiful, so much better than the Rolling Stones version. And I just love listening to this because, like, every song, I know exactly what scene every song is in. So it's like you're kind of watching the movie as you're listening to it. Just such a great album. And this is the Mondo version that has this great gatefold. Just the art on it is so cool. Sounds amazing. Love this. Next up, album with no writing on the cover. And I just went with this classic. This is Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. It doesn't have anything on the cover. It does have it on the sides and a little bit on the back. And then it has the gatefold. This is an original Harvest copy. But yeah, easy go-to for that question. Number 15, album on colored vinyl, and this one's probably my favorite one in my collection. This is Potty Mouth by Bratmobile. Bratmobile. My God, I can talk, I swear. But yeah, this is a great 90s all-girl punk rock Riot Girl album. This is a recent reissue Vinyl Me Please did. I think it was limited to 500 copies on this color variant. It's black with this like cool pink stripe in the middle. I don't know, I just love it, and I love how it matches the cover really nicely. I just love it. I just find it very aesthetically pleasing. Next question, show your pride dig of 2021. I mean, this isn't an expensive find, but this is just something I have always seen as a Stooges / Iggy Pop collector online, and I've never seen one in person, especially with one of the key components. But this is Jesus Loves the Stooges. This is a later solo thing Iggy Pop and James Williamson did in 1975, 76, I believe. But this is a later 90s reissue. But every time you find these or see these, they're always missing the 3D glasses, since this picture's in 3D and the back picture's in 3D. So I was really excited to finally find one that has the 3D glasses, so you can see Iggy Pop in 3D and decomposing horse corpse in 3D. Super cool. Not that expensive. I think it was like $20. But yeah, really nice, cool 10-inch that has Kill City, Johanna on the first side, and then Jesus Loves the Stooges and Consolation Prizes on the second side. So I was really stoked to find that. Number 17, show a record from a band from the past that you totally bypassed until recently. And that would be Revolver by the Beatles. Of course, I know the Beatles. I've listened to the Beatles. I love the Beatles. They're obviously a very musically and historically important band. And like every time I go to the record store, I know no matter which record store I go to, there's always going to be the Beatles. And I just always kept putting off buying the Beatles. This was actually something VCLT someone sent to me. So I technically didn't even buy this either. But I don't know, I would rather spend my money on something that's new to me, something that I don't see that often, rather than something I know is going to be in every record store till the end of time. So I love the Beatles, and I want to get more of their stuff eventually. And Revolver was kind of a nice kick in the ass to like, just buy it. Nothing's stopping you. They're great to have in any record collection, and this is definitely a favorite of the Beatles discography for me. So this was a nice little addition to a band I just need to get. So show a box set. I don't know if this counts as a box set, but it's in a box and there's 2 records in it. So but this is Soul Box by Grover Washington Jr. This is just a record. I think there was Soul Box 1, Soul Box 2. I think this is a combo of both of them. But yeah, just Grover Washington Jr. famously played a saxophone on Just the Two of Us with Bill Withers. But yeah, such a great session musician, jazz musician in his own right. Yeah, definitely very funk influenced sort of slow jazz on this album. But yeah, really cool. It's in a box. It counts. It's a box set. Number 19, show your favorite cover that you got in 2021. And I did one that I purposely got, I literally bought just because of the cover, blind bought it, and was really surprised by how great this album is. But this is Consider These Words by Salah. And I just saw this record and it was in such great, beautiful condition. This is an album from 1972. I think this one was still in the shrink too, and I just took it off. But I just had to get to because of this cover. It looked so cool. But this is a really interesting, cool, psych, funk, soul Christian album. I mean, you have songs on here called God is Light, I Saw the Light, Peace to the People, Romans 10:9, Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. But yeah, such a cool private press, something I would have never bought if it wasn't for this cover. But yeah, really cool, really exciting blind buy that I just really loved from this year. And the cover is just so freaking cool. I love the colors, the light blue and the weird designs on it. Yeah, just super killer. Last but not least, show a record you got as a present or VCLT in 2021. I was so fortunate and so lucky enough to have some great things sent my way by various people. But this one just like really blew me away, and it wasn't a band I was familiar with. I'd only heard about them through other people talking about them, and that is Satori by Flower Traveling Band. Dave from Local Bandography, thank you so much for this. This completely blew me away. I had seen him talk about it, and also Dylan from Noble Records talk about it, so I knew it had to be good, but I didn't think it was going to be as mind-blowing as it was. But yeah, such a killer Japanese psych rock blues band, very guitar oriented. If you're an electric guitar player, you need to listen to this album. This will just wreck, blow your mind, melt your face, curl your toes, just like all that crazy stuff. Just so cool. And it comes on this great gatefold. This is a bootleg, a British bootleg that came out a couple years ago. Originals of these go for a bit of money, but yeah, I was just blown away by this record. Thanks again, Dave, for sending this my way. My God, we're getting towards the end. But yeah, that was my addition to all the Vinyl Tag 2022 videos. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to another year in the vinyl community. See you guys in the next one. Bye.